So do we want to start?
I'd love to. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm very excited to talking to you. So yeah, it's a bit late right now in Germany, so it's actually like 8:30 p.m. But for you, everything.
Thank you. Thanks. Sorry, we ran a little late too.
No problem. No problem. So thank you so much for your time. Where do I catch you right now?
Where am I?
Yeah.
I'm in Los Angeles, and so it's a little earlier here than where you are.
Yeah, so is the weather in Los Angeles nicer now because you had a crazy winter in California?
It's still going. Like we've had unusual amounts of rain here, and it's literally still raining. It feels like it's never going to let up.
So I was in Los Angeles last year around this time, and it was so hot already. And when I saw that, it was snowing in California, that was unimaginable.
Yeah, people in LA are used to always 70 degrees. And so anytime it's any different, there's like mass hysteria.
Do you even have like real jackets for temperatures like that in California?
We don't have real jackets. It's literally like what's been going on is like, I think I used to own a jacket for when I'd go to the UK or Germany. I should probably pull that out of a closet because I need one.
Yeah, and shoes as well. Like,
do I have real shoes or do I just
can't go in flip-flops?
Exactly.
So your famous album Meteora turns 20 years this Saturday, and just to say, I'm only 23, so I actually don't know a world without songs like Hit the Floor or Numb. But what does this anniversary mean to you?
First of all, it's amazing to speak with you. I feel like you epitomize what's so special about this record. We were a little younger than you when we made it. We were coming off of our debut album, Hybrid Theory, which did a little bit better than we were hoping or expecting.
It was huge.
Yeah, it was really an adventure and a half. We were on tour for 2.5 years. It became the biggest selling album in the world at that time. And we had a really big challenge of like desperately wanting to follow that up and prove, because like there was like a lot of nonsense that like we would do press and people said like we weren't even real, like we were like made up somehow. I don't know if that meant we were like kid robots or like we really wanted to prove like we have a point of view as artists, and the challenge was how to physically make these songs while we were still on the road. And so we actually outfitted a bus with a studio. Mike basically moved into that bus, and we would spend time with him on that bus, creating ideas that ultimately formed the bedrock of this album that we made with Don Gilmore, who also produced Hybrid Theory. And we wanted to prove that Hybrid Theory wasn't a fluke, that we had something to say. We wanted to make something timeless. And so the fact that you and I are here 20 years after the fact, and that it is still relevant to young people. Like I talk to people who are like teenagers and they're like, oh, this is my favorite album, or it's like, it's really weird. It's a really weird phenomenon. And then to like the icing on the cake, Anna, is when we were making the album, Mike and I were in New York with Andy Wallace, who was mixing the album. He's like legendary engineer. He mixed Nirvana, Nevermind, and he mixed Hybrid Theory. And we had 14, he mixed 14 songs, and we were then going through like how to sequence them, because we all like, our format was the album. Like we always wanted to create a whole album, have that album take you on a journey and tell a story. And so getting the sequence right and getting the elements right is like an art form unto itself. And we had this song, and we felt like it was similar to our other song, Numb. And we just felt like we really want Numb to have its own moment to shine. And well, let's actually hold this other song that we love off of the record. And maybe at some future moment, it'll have it'll have its own day in the sun. And then we forgot that song existed.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, yeah, of course, Numb, like this song. How could you forget about that?
Well, we didn't forget about Numb, but we did ironically forget about the song Lost. And
oh yeah, the one you just released.
Yeah, and so when we were looking for like all of the amazing pieces of content and music and visuals and footage that we'd filmed to put together this box set, we remembered this. Oh, we actually had a song that was one of our favorite songs that we made for that album that we didn't put on the album. And we actually didn't even know where it was. And we found it. And I really wanted the multi-tracks, because even though the mix was beautiful, it really did feel like a timeless song. And I wanted to give it to Manny Marroquin, who mixed our most recent albums, to look at it, listen to it with fresh ears.
But what was it like, rediscovering this old recording and hearing Chester's voice again? What was that like?
Incredible. Because like not everything we made not everything we make is great. Like we make a lot of stuff to try to like capture like something really, really special. And this is one of those moments, and I hadn't heard it probably in 20 years. And when I heard it, I was just like floored by it, because it's one of my favorite things we've ever made. I think his vocal performance is exquisite, like the subtlety on the verses and then the power in the chorus, and the vocal production is really, really special. So Don Gilmore, who produced Hybrid Theory and Meteora, I think he produced all the vocals on Pearl Jam 10, and he's like a really, really fantastic vocal producer among all of his other talents. And so like I just think like the way he captured Chester's voice on that particular song is really like one of the best songs we've made, I think. And so I'm just super stoked. Like I don't know how it's doing in Germany. Here in the US, it's #1 right now at alternative and at rock radio.
Yeah, we play it all the time. We love that song. Like, and also 2 days ago, Chester Bennington would have celebrated his 47th birthday, I guess. What are those days like for you and the other band members?
Obviously sad, because I miss him, and also beautiful just to like have an extra special day to celebrate his memory and his legacy and how much joy he brought people, and like the light and life, that was inside of him that he shared so vulnerably. I think like we would go like on this album Meteora, we started playing countries we've never been to before. Some of which like they really don't, unlike Germany where most people do speak English, like not everyone speaks English everywhere. And we'd go to countries and kids would sing all the words. And I would think like, how are they singing all these words? And I think like, even if people in the audience didn't know English, I think that they could sing they were singing back the emotion they were feeling, even if it was just phonetically. The emotion in these songs was so like clear and true that I think that's what ultimately makes it stand the test of time.
Yeah, now we know that Meteora is a legendary album, and you gained so much more popularity after Hybrid Theory even. But you were talking about the pressure, but if we like walk down memory lane a little bit, did you expect the album to be a hit, or was it like really this angsty moment where you were like, oh no, we can't mess this up?
The angsty moment. Yeah, like I think we learned as we've grown as artists that you can't control how something's going to do commercially. You can't control how people are, you have no idea how other people are going to feel about it. The only thing as an artist one can control is one's own creative contribution to something. So our ethos was kind of always like, let's make exactly the album we want to make, that we love, that we want to listen to. And then we hope that other people feel the same. Also, the six of us like always had very different musical tastes. So if we would find something, Anna, that like all six of us really loved, it was a really good sign.
Okay, great. So, well, history is history. When I told the people around me that I would talk to you today, like everyone was, wow, Linkin Park, and like so cool. And then everybody was like, what are they doing right now? And I think that's a good timing to ask you exactly this. What are you as a band doing right now?
I think we're really focused on this release. We put a lot of energy into this box set. There's a tremendous amount of music on it that people haven't heard before. And I think in particular, this song Lost is actually connecting more than like, someone pointed out, like even a bunch of the more recent songs like that we released, the song Lost is having a bigger impact.
Yeah, and it's even called Lost. Like, that's perfect.
I know. It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, really. But is there like any more hidden material with Chester, or are you maybe even thinking about writing new music? Is there anything coming?
I think it's important to make the best decision in the moment. And so I think for us, the moment we're in is celebrating this album. And I think with this song, I think like it's just something special that you can't predict. Even if you try to line everything up, like you really never know how something's going to impact people and connect. I think that the visuals too that were created for this song Lost are really special. As artists, we've always prioritized the visual landscape of our band. It was never like, oh, now we're just going to add visuals. Mike and Joe both went to art, like one of the best art schools in the States, and are really accomplished artists. And we've been able to collaborate also with visual artists like Delta, who created that Meteora wall. And so when I think of Meteora, Anna, I think of like stepping into a whole universe. I'm not just thinking of songs. I'm thinking of like a whole experience. And when I think of songs on the album, I think of the visuals. So like, that's the first thing I think of. Like when I think of Breaking the Habit, I'm seeing Breaking the Habit. Like Joe went to Japan at that time and collaborated with some of the most talented anime artists and created a whole visual world. And so the fact that like, that he was able to revisit that and put a new spin on it for this new song, like it just makes total sense for me. Like it's really a beautiful, exquisite piece of art. I'm really like stoked on the directors that worked on that and how it turned out. Like it's super, super cool. I don't even know how they did it.
And when I researched Meteora, there was another, maybe a little different visual that I had in mind, because I read that the names taken from like the old Greek monasteries.
Yeah.
Why? Like, where did that came from?
I want to pull that image up because I haven't seen that in a while. Yeah, I feel like these images were really inspiring to us. Like the vastness, they feel really breathtaking.
The cliffs and the water. And
I think there's like an interplay between the cliffs and the man-made element. I think it's a juxtaposition. I would say like these images to me conjure like a vastness, like a majestic vastness. They conjure a timelessness. And they also conjure a juxtaposition of elements that you don't expect. So
were you able to visit a place like this, actually?
I was not fortunate enough to visit this place because when I went to Greece, I was very focused on getting to
probably touring,
to and from the show on time. That's the thing about touring people don't realize is like, I would say an exception is Germany because I spent so much time in Germany that I feel like I know Berlin pretty well. Berlin specifically, because that's where I spent most of the time when I was in Germany. Most places we toured to, like we would see like the hotel, the venue, a restaurant, the airport.
And at this pace, everything looks the same, right? Like no matter where you are, just the people talk a little funny.
At a really crazy pace, yeah. And like this time in our career was really a whirlwind, like insane. Like doing something, like I'm doing like 2 hours of press today, and it feels like wow, like I'm doing a lot.
And then earlier it was like tour.
When I was your age, they would have been like, okay, before the show, we're going to do 2 hours of press. Cause you're young and you have lots of energy. And I guess I did too at that time. So yeah, it was a whirlwind at that time. It's definitely clear on like, there's a lot of documentary footage in this package of like us touring and making the record and really like amazing things that we filmed and found. And I feel like in this moment with you right now, it feels like an amazing sense of just being grounded and, having a sense of like a deeper appreciation for everything that we've created and the impact that it's had and that it continues to have. And just celebrating that, like being in the moment of celebrating that to me feels really like exciting, and I'm really grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. And after all these years of touring, like you're famous for always wearing those big fat headphones on stage. Are you maybe the only rock star in this world with impeccable hearing? Well,
I was inspired by you because you have really cool headphones on right now. In fact, I'm feeling
well, it would have been like 20 years ago, but okay.
I knew in the future that you'd be wearing cool headphones.
Oh, okay, great.
That was my source of inspiration.
So I can tell everybody about this. That's awesome.
I will give you all the credit for my my fashion sense on stage.
Great. So as a guitarist, what's your favorite song to play besides your own songs, of course?
Besides my songs.
Besides Linkin Park, yes.
I really like trying to play some of the John Mayer songs where he's using his right hand as almost like a percussive instrument. So there's like a finger style playing that like, I remember going on YouTube and like trying, this was years ago, I was like trying to figure out what he was doing. And there was literally like a 13-year-old girl like showing me how to play it in like the YouTube tutorial.
That's like the worst thing ever, right? If you want to figure something out for yourself, and then there are like people much younger who like, I just learned this yesterday.
To that musician, and she's very talented for her age. And yes, it was humbling for me to like be learning from someone like a third of my age how to try to do my job. So, or at least his job in this case. I think like the guitar is a really interesting instrument. It's very difficult to play. And I also love the piano. So I've been playing a lot of piano. The piano is so different from the guitar because it's so straightforward. Like there's one key for every note. And on the guitar, like you have to interpret where you want to play that note because you could play it in multiple places on the neck. Music's cool.
Music's cool, yeah. Absolutely. I ask you that because sadly our time in this interview is coming to an end, and at some parties there will always be like this one guitarist who picks up the guitar at the end of the party and ends it with a song, and it's usually Wonderwall, right? If you were that guy right now, which song would you play to end this party here? Not that song, probably.
That would be the song. It's so weird that like that's the song I was thinking, and then it just played itself. To answer the question seriously, Anna, if you and I were at a party and this was like a great party and like all our friends were there, and then it was like getting really late, like we have to wake up for work in like 2 hours. And so like everyone's got to go home. And, you know, the only way to get people to leave is to pick up this guitar and play everyone out of this apartment. I'm gonna be the one to pick up the guitar. I'm not gonna play a John Mayer song because I'm still doing the YouTube tutorials on that. I am gonna play a song that I love by a band you may have heard of called Oasis, and that song is called Wonderwall.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much for your time. It was an honor talking to you.